Hi there and welcome to another Cigar Advisors Cigar Review Panel Cigar Review. I'm Gary Korb, your host, executive editor for cigaradvisor.com, and today we will be reviewing the La Gloria Cubana Spanish Press Robusto. And this is a cigar made in the traditional box pressing method, which results in a rectangular shaped cigar. So, without further ado, let's meet our cigar review panel. Out of Time Magazine's 26 million readers, he lost the 2019 Person of the Year, Greta Thunberg, by only 25,999,998 votes. Please welcome Jared Gulick. You got 2 votes.
2.
He'll be hosting his next fundraiser in a wine cave full of crystals. It's Cigar Advisor Managing Editor, John Pulo.
Very big fan of the cave atmosphere.
Yeah. In fact, we were going to do this review in a wine cave, but we
Be
couldn't
nice,
get the crystals.
A nice ambiance.
We couldn't get the crystals. So, anyhow, as I mentioned, we are smoking La Gloria Cubana Spanish Press Robusto.
You've been looking forward to this.
And I like La Gloria Cubana cigars. I like them very much. And this cigar is made in the El Credito factory in Dominican Republic, which is the original factory where they were made by many years ago by our friend Ernesto Carrillo. And the dimensions are 5.5 by 50. It is a Spanish press, and I think Jared's going to talk a little bit about that. And it's got a Nicaraguan Jalapa wrapper. Now, Jalapa tends to be a little sweeter. It's got a Mexican San Andreas binder. I'm not sure if it's a Maduro or just the regular San Andreas, the natural leaf.
It's a mystery.
Because the natural tends to be a little spicier than the Maduro. And the fillers are really interesting. It's a Nicaraguan Jalapa again, so more Jalapa below there. Dominican Palato Cubano and Olor, which are also kind of on the sweet side. And of course you love this one, Brasilia Matafina.
Yeah, baby.
And it's rolled in 3 sizes. Besides the 5.5 by 50 Robusto we're smoking today, there's a Toro, which is a 6.5 by 52. And there's a Gigante, which I reviewed some time ago, which is a 6 by 60.
And that's why I say you look forward to this review, because I know you've had a taste of that larger size in the past, and you did like it a lot.
I did. I liked it a lot.
Matter of fact, would not shut up about it for quite a while.
These are presented in boxes of 20 cigars, and the average price of a single is about $7 and change.
Nice. Okay, good price point.
But the Robusto goes for about $6.29, and that is the list price. And you can pick up a box of these for about $114. So that's not bad. It's a very, very well-made cigar. I'm admiring it very much. And as it says in the press release here, it's an old world technique being used to create this shape, the Spanish pressing. And they also have a new logo. I don't know if you can get a good close-up of that, but they changed the logo. They modernized it a little bit.
And I think this is the first cigar with the new logo on, right?
I believe that is.
Yeah.
I believe it is. And these, what they do is, Jared's going to get more into the details, but the way they describe it is they take the freshly rolled cigars and put them into wooden trays with dividers, and which applies uniform pressure to the cigars. And then after they're pressed, they're placed in specially sized boxes to maintain pressure. And Yuri Guillen, production manager for El Credito, says, this method eliminates air pockets to deliver an optimal draw and output of smoke, resulting in an enhanced smoking experience. We developed a very special blend to showcase our unique technique. We believe we have delivered a fantastic addition, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, we're smoking it now. Jared, what do you think?
When you let these sit for a little while, I think you find that it's a very refined cigar. Very refined.
Refined in what way?
So,
for instance.
So for instance, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself because this is more of like a second act type of thing, but you know, when it gets earthy, second half where it gets a little, you know, to me it's rounded out, it's sweeter, whereas it's not, I don't usually like earthy flavors, and sometimes I find them, it's a nice way for me to say bitter.
Okay.
You know, but this has just got a sweetness to it that's very unlike any of the earthiness that I've had before in most cigars. And it just has like a bevel to all the flavors. It just took a little piece of sandpaper and just kind of polished them off.
Smooth the edges.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, just for argument's sake, we're all better part of, less than an inch in. And we started talking about some flavors. But before we get ahead of ourselves, is there a place we want to benchmark what we're tasting right now?
Well, I know what I've been tasting, and I've had all 3 sizes, and I found that the Robusto
Yes.
is the sweetest. And you know I like a sweet cigar. And I mean, the sample, the base sample that I had last week was like literally sugary sweet.
Really?
I mean, it was like sugar. And I'm finding this cigar very consistent in terms of the Robusto.
Okay.
You know, like I said, I'm getting like some earthiness out of it, some like a minerally. I kind of define earthy now as more mineral, you know, and I'm definitely getting the sweetness, and I'm getting kind of like a cedar note. Also, that has been consistent. The pre-light flavor was a little bit leathery, but also sweet. So draw is excellent. I'm getting great volume of smoke out of this thing.
Okay,
So,
I'll agree with you on a number of those things
Okay.
already. There are copious amounts of smoke from the get-go on this cigar. Some of that sweetness, my sensation is kind of like a buttery sweet, and you and I have talked about this.
Yes.
Specifically about this cigar in the past. Supposedly this is a what they call a Nicaraguan forward cigar. I don't find it that even an inch in, it's particularly strong.
No.
But what I am finding are some of those typical Nicaraguan flavors that you've often associated with other brands, known to be Nicaraguan brands, that really hang their hat on those flavors, like coffee.
Yes.
Okay.
Some of that sweetness is in there. Cedar, big time.
definitely cedar.
Big time cedar, and a little bit of molasses on the toasting and lighting. And as we're getting into this, the coffee is making itself more evident. That sweetness, and I notice this is kind of a transition. It's a constantly evolving thing, at least it has been for me, that where you start off in the beginning, it's a very dark, muted kind of sweetness. Think baker's chocolate, or that semi-sweet stuff, right? That it's not the kind of stuff you steal off the baking table because it's fun to eat. It actually tastes awful on its own.
Right.
But, you know, it's just a little hint of that. And then as a transition, it goes to like dark chocolate. And then it lightens up a little bit more. And then it's kind of like cocoa-y. And then it lightens up a little bit more. It's like powdered cocoa. And it's just this constantly evolving sweetness that goes on throughout the thing. And finally, and I am just like you, I'm going to get ahead of myself here. If you've had espresso, again, back to that typical Nicaraguan forward coffee note, that espresso tinged with a little bit of lemon, that citrus sweetness that's in there to counteract the harsh heaviness of the espresso, there's that kind of sweetness on the finish. That's just it. So a very sweet cigar, but it is a transitioning kind of sweetness from beginning to end.
Yeah, I'll go with you on the molasses. I didn't get any of the citrusy note or anything like that. But
Oh, I am.
I did get the cream. Well, you said butter, but I
Yeah, but
more of
like
a sweet
buttery,
thing for
creamy,
me.
almost oily
Yeah.
kind of sweetness. You know?
And light spice. That was the best way to describe it. Jared, how about you?
So I need you to do me a favor and get out of my head because like I feel like we're like telepathically like smoking this cigar right now. So the only difference I have in yours really is that I'm getting the espresso up front instead of, but that's just going to be a subjective matter anyway. But I'm getting a little bit of tangy citrus, getting that the butter, that coffee, and dark chocolate too. I mean, all the same notes that you're getting. But at the first couple puffs, which is weird, I got this very smoky, almost like Kentucky fire cured type of flavor. It didn't last long, but I got it yesterday when I smoked my sample, and again this morning.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's only a
Is it
couple.
spicy?
No, it's just like that smoky, almost sweet, like barbecue kind of flavor. But it doesn't last long, and it's
Very stick to your ribsy?
yeah, it's just a nice like hearty, smoky flavor to
Okay.
it. But like I said, it doesn't last long. But I thought maybe it was just what I ate or something yesterday, but I got it again this morning.
Okay, well, if you're not finding some of the same kind of sweetness, or specifically the citrus, are you finding more spice?
Yes.
Like
I'm
what?
getting more spice, like kind of like maybe a nutmeg, or a little bit, maybe a little cinnamon.
I
you
definitely
know.
found some cinnamon in there, so I'm with you on that one too.
But I want to talk a little bit about the pressing because it's not a sharply box pressed cigar. And I did say that Jared was going to talk a little bit about it. I did mention about the way they do it. Maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit more. But Jared, maybe you could talk a little bit about the different types of pressings there are. You notice that some are much sharper, some are more rounded. About that too.
There's a couple different types of pressing. You know, we have the traditional box pressing that we all know. You see it a lot on like Rocky's stuff. Then you have trunk pressing, which gives you sharper edges generally. But this is an older technique called Spanish pressing, and otherwise known as like Cuban pressing. It's like the old Cuban style. And they're put into these boxes, and these boxes help keep their shape afterwards. This is a method that dates back generations in Cuba. They've been doing it a long time, and it's just one of those hallmarks that you're almost like a tercio type of thing, where you know, we're going to put a lot of extra TLC into our cigar because we want to show you that we care about it. You know.
Okay. And that raises a question. Does box pressing make a difference for you, John? I mean, do you like box
I think
pressing?
it does. You know, I've actually found myself gravitating more towards box press cigars. It can offer you an interesting smoking experience as opposed to, once you get past the idea of the shape, just because it's not their typical round or parejo format, you get past the shape, you're probably going to be rewarded with a more intense flavor. Kind of in the same way how if you're used to smoking a torpedo, cutting a little off the end versus cutting a large amount off the end. You know how a smaller draw will focus more flavor and focus more intensity of the smoke? Yeah. Same kind of thing.
Right.
But without getting into the size or the shape of how you're actually making that cut.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think you get a more concentrated smoke, but it's also cooler. It doesn't smoke as hot. Like I've noticed when I'm smoking a box press, I can go further down without getting too much heat.
That's interesting.
As long as you're not smoking too fast, you know. But what's interesting is this almost like this type of pressing emulates. You guys are familiar with entubado, right? Yes. Where they roll the little cylinders.
Right.
This almost has that same kind of effect where it's gonna just channel that smoke directly to you, and that's a little bit easier to get done than entubado. Entubado is pretty difficult. So.
Well, I'm still getting that nice sweetness, but I'm getting a lot more earth on this one too. How about you, John? You pretty consistent so
A lot
far?
of those flavors are consistent. I mean, you know, as you've said and as you've said, this is not our first rodeo with Spanish press. It's actually more like fourth or fifth rodeo in various sizes. And the nice thing has been consistent flavor from cigar to cigar, where it's been some of that coffee flavor, that various sweetness. It's now starting to come alive now out of the darker stages and more into a cocoa-y kind of taste, because I'm getting a little bit closer along to about halfway. Some of that cinnamon spice that you and I agreed on is still there, and I'm starting to taste, you know, some of that coffee transition to that espresso taste that you and I also agree on. Yeah. So it's a constant, it's a slow change, and it's not that there's a lot of flavors, but the flavors are very deep.
Okay.
I've found.
So that leads me to my next question, and I'll put this to Jared. Would you say this is complex?
In some ways, yes. I think it offers a lot of different individual flavors. As far as changes, the changes are more gradual. They're not like slap you in the face, like here's a change, here's a change, here's a change. Right. There's gradual, but there's a big bouquet of flavors available to you at any given time. Yeah. You know. So I would say, yeah, more than not, it is complex.
Okay. How about you?
I don't think it's such that there's, like I said, that it's such that there exists a wide variety of flavors. It's just that the 3 or 4 that are there, let's say three right. primary flavors that are really hangs on the coffee, that cinnamon, that sweetness in various forms, and it just kind of it's a wave.
Yeah. I'm not getting this coffee, and I don't want you're saying it has coffee to influence me, and then all of a sudden I'm going to taste the coffee. You know, I'm trying to be honest with this thing. But the other thing, you know, I like to ask is whether it's you know, like what's good to pair with this besides coffee, obviously. What would this go good with, John?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I don't think that this is a particularly strong cigar. Like, I find this fuller in flavor than I do in body.
It's full flavor, but I find medium body.
Yes.
We agree.
I'd say medium plus at best.
Yeah.
And there's this constant low hum of cedar that's kind of going on in the background too, right? So you get something that pairs well with that woodiness and isn't overpowering in the body. I might go with a medium to dry red wine. For some reason, La Gloria has always, for me, lent itself to pairing with red wine.
Interesting.
More so than a bourbon or a whiskey or anything like that.
Okay.
And I think it's because of that extra cedary kind of thing, because it reflects that tannin kind of sensation that you get out of a drier red wine.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Okay. Yeah, I would probably, I would say this would be good with, I guess you could have it with a bourbon, but you don't want anything too sweet with this because it's already sweet. So I would do something with that's probably a little, maybe like a single malt Scotch. It's not too sweet.
Okay, so a contrasting pairing.
Yeah, something like that. How about you,
Interesting.
Jared?
What do you like?
I know you kind of like beer. And
Yeah,
you had a
I was
beer
gonna. I'm gonna take a
with
beer
this?
approach because you guys are the hard stuff. I'm the light stuff.
How's it with that pineapple orange?
No, pineapple. No, this is just orange juice.
Oh, I thought it was
Actually, I'm gonna be honest. It's not. I had this with water yesterday, and it's not pairing very well with orange juice. So don't go with orange juice.
Okay.
But I would probably go for something like lighter, like this might be a local thing, but like Rolling Rock's pretty light and understated. I think would pair nice with this. So I
Okay.
would say something light, and I'm not into like Miller Lite and stuff like that, but I think a light beer would be a really good companion for the cigar.
Okay.
Something that just doesn't overpower because it's fuller flavored, and you don't want something to detract from.
Yeah, I think I like when a cigar has a lot of flavor like
Yeah.
this. To let the cigar do its
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
You and I are about the same point, John. They're just a little bit behind, but so we're kind of like in Act 2, I guess, at this point. I am getting a little bit of that coffee now.
Are
Our
you
suggestion.
sure?
I really am. I really am.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to be.
It's very.
Persuading this
It may not be as
result of the
strong as
test.
you're getting it, but I am getting a little hint of coffee.
So I have a question for you guys. Okay. So we all know that back in the early '90s, LGC was a huge game changer. They were. I mean, let's be honest here. They partially credited for kickstarting the cigar boom, right?
That's true.
He kind of blew Ernesto blew everybody away with blends like Wavell and things like that. So would you guys say that this is a contemporary flavor? Is it a classic flavor? Is it a mixture of both? Are they doing the same thing again? Is this going to be a game changer for the current generation?
Well, I think that to answer that, we would need to know give me an example of a contemporary taste versus a classic taste. And here's why I say, because I think that the way La Gloria has gone, Syriar, Syrienne, more contemporary taste.
Right.
Spanish Press, a more contemporary style, blending style, doing a more classic flavor.
Right.
That's what I think this
Yes.
is.
I think you're right.
I
it's a
think
mixture
this is
both.
more of a
Yeah.
throwback,
Yeah.
in a way that CAO did a couple of years ago with La Traviata.
Right.
Okay, so CAO was experimenting with all these other brands,
Right.
or all these other tobaccos rather, to come up with some of these different brands.
Sure.
And these exotic tastes.
Yeah.
And then they decided to hit the rewind button and sent it back 100 years to that classic taste that I think you're talking about.
Yeah.
With La Traviata. And it's still around.
Yes,
and
it is.
But it's probably one of the more classical tasting in the CAO lineup. And I think Spanish Press does a lot of that same kind of work for La Gloria, that throwback, because to me the Wavell and all those were a more classic tasting type of cigar.
Right.
Before they started growing larger ring sizes, more exotic, stronger, more potent blends. This is kind of more of a traditionalist's taste,
Right.
I think.
Yeah, I would agree, and I would also encourage the newer cigar smokers who may be doing a lot of the boutique stuff to smoke some of these classic brands like La Gloria Cubana, because I think you'd be missing out on a lot of
Sure.
really great stuff if you didn't. So, and it's just a bit of a throwback, and I kind of like the, I love the box pressing, I love the volume of the smoke, the flavors are all in there. So yeah, I can't say that enough about trying a cigar like a La Gloria or one of the other classics that are put out by General Cigar and some of the other big companies. That's about it.
So maybe this will bring the classics back.
It's the throwback jersey of the LGC lineup.
When you were saying that the whole time, I was thinking about like bell bottoms and bootcut jeans. Like,
Too
it used
far.
to be flashy, but it came back.
It did?
It did.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but it did.
All right. I think for the money, it's a great value too. I mean, this is under $7 as a single, and when cigar for me, when a cigar has this much flavor in it and it's about $6-7, you know, for me that's a good value. And of course the quality. I mean, I just love the volume of smoke. I mean, this cigar is hitting on all the right, you know, marks for me, as far as what I enjoy personally. And I think a lot of people are going to like this. I think it's, like you said, it's an across the board kind of a smoke that just about anybody can enjoy, even a new smoker, but maybe after he or she has had a few, you know,
when
cigars.
the training wheels come off,
their
you know?
palate is kind of adjusted a little bit to what cigars taste like, you know.
Right.
So my son had his first cigar, my younger son, the other day, and I gave him a kind of a mild cigar, but something that was a little sweet, and he loved it, you know. But you know, but I wouldn't say he's ready for this. You know, it was only one cigar, but he got it. You know, he got the idea, the relaxation. We had it with coffee. We were, you know, chilling. And
there's one other thing I wanted to offer up is just maybe a piece of advice that people can take or leave, which is, I think this is not a cigar that goes well with like a noisy or crowded environment. I think it's
interesting.
There's some nuance here that, like, I'd want to be in a place where I can really appreciate it. I'm not necessarily saying you have to be by yourself. No. But maybe not like the most crowded lounge or the noisiest place in the lounge, because I think you might miss some of it. And you know, kind of a little bit to contrast what I said earlier. I said there's not, you know, the changes don't slap you in the face. We've said that they, to your point, they're kind of that wave, you know. And I think it's really easy to miss some stuff if you're in the hustle and bustle. So that's just my
way of looking at it. I never thought of that.
Okay. Good. Interesting. So there's nuances, is what I think is probably what the best way to say.
Nuances.
Nuances that the experienced palate will pick up.
Yeah.
So don't overlook them.
Yeah.
And you get a chance to kind of sit and relax and focus on it.
And that's a perfect segue to what you were talking about before we started filming.
What was that?
The retrohale.
I was just going to ask about that.
Yeah.
Has anyone retrohale? I did a couple of times. It's a little spicy.
That's where
it's not overbearing.
That's where I found most of the earthiness for me.
Okay.
Yes.
But some spice in there, the earth, and a little bit of pepper, and more of that cedar really comes out in the retrohale for me.
Are you getting pepper on the finish? I'm getting like a spicy, lingering on my palate.
Are you talking about the retro or just in general?
No, just in general. It's light, but it's, you know, it's
light pepper
tingly.
on the finish. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think it.
On the
I
retro.
think this is a winner. You know.
Yeah.
It's not a new cigar. It came out sometime last year. I think last spring, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I think I reviewed the Gigante in.
It was like just before the trade show. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just think it's a really great buy, and it's got the Gloria name on it, and that means something. And I just really digging it.
So how would you go ahead and close us out here, Jared, with a couple of key takeaways of somebody who's encountering the Gloria Spanish Press for the first time in the humidor?
Okay, a couple of key takeaways just to summarize what I talked about earlier. Let it sit. Don't smoke. Don't smoke it right after. I'm not saying you have to let it sit 6 months like I did, but maybe like a week or two. Let it sit a week or two. Take your time. Smoke it slow. And like I said, just don't be in a really crazy type of environment when you're smoking it. You know, I have a couple of buddies around or something like that, but just kind of just sit back and indulge and just enjoy it for what it is. And I think if you've done all of those things, you're going to get a lot out of the cigar.
Okay. I've found throughout the course of our conversation, throughout the course of smoking a couple of these now, a good amount of body, not quite full, more medium than full. Very well balanced, however, and it really hangs on a couple of key flavors. It's that, for me, it's that coffee.
Okay.
It's some of that cinnamon. It's that transitioning sweetness that starts out very dark and not very sweet.
Right.
To finishing kind of cocoa, almost like puffy, creamy, cocoa-y. Like when you open a can of, Quick or something like that. Like if you're gonna make chocolate milk.
Oh yeah.
You pop open that can and it's just kind of, that's that same sensation. It's hitting your senses the same way.
Right up.
And again, supposedly, their words, not mine, Nicaraguan forward. So I can see some of those taste come forward in the profile. It doesn't have a lot of flavor changes, and like I said before, what's there is deep. So if you want to get fat on those tastes of coffee and wood and cinnamon and that hearty sweetness, bring your stretchy pants and enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say that my criteria would be that it's got quality, it's very well made. It's got flavor, lots of flavor. And smokability, which it's smoking great. I haven't had to retouch it. It's burning just about perfectly, and it's a great value.
Yeah.
So you want to get the most for your buck, and I think that's what you're going to get with this cigar. So anyway, I guess that wraps it up for the La Gloria Cubana Spanish Press Robusto. And again, you can buy the Spanish Press Robusto at famous-smoke.com at great prices. And I want to thank you for watching, and please make sure you follow us on cigaradvisor.com and sign up for emails, right?
Sign up for emails.
Follow
Also,
us. Yes.
Also, one other thing.
Oh.
If you like this cigar, or if you like this video, make sure you click like on this video and subscribe and the little bell to get notified the next time we review more great cigars like this La Gloria Spanish Press, or some of the now smoking, or some of the top new cigars, or some of the other videos we put out at cigaradvisor.com.
That's right.
Ding.
We are video packed.
There it is.
And we're also on Instagram and Twitter, and especially Instagram. So we've been doing pretty well on Instagram lately, haven't we? So thank you for watching, and I hope you pick up the La Gloria Cubana Spanish Press in any of these sizes and enjoy it, and happy smokes.